2 o'clock, good afternoon, and welcome to LJ News. Mirror, mirror on the world. 195, or is it 197 countries on planet Earth is the most beautiful of all? It's the sort of difficult question travel writers are often asked, sometimes to their consternation. Since isn't beauty in the eye of the beholder? Still, you can see why people ask. Who doesn't want to see the world's most beautiful places? Travel writers prevaricate and produce a short list. Now we've pressed them, consternation or not, for their definitive choice. As you'll see from their varied responses, beauty is both personal and universally appreciated. But is the perception of beauty permanent? Maybe not. Our ideas of what's truly lovely in travel have changed with our cultural notions throughout history. Ancient Romans were barely interested in landscapes, and medieval Europeans dismissed as the unsightly the mountains and ancient ruins so lauded by tourists today. You might ponder what we'll find in beautiful in the next century. Perhaps beauty really is only skin deep. Interestingly, it isn't only the obvious aesthetics that matter to our writers, but other factors as well, from deep ancestral connections to the spirituality of friendliness locals. Ultimately, chemistry counts. We simply have emotional connections to places that we can never quite explain. We hope you're inspired by our choices, some of which may surprise you. We invite you to share your own nominations with us too, with details on how to write us at the end of the story. There is certainly a difference between glamour and true beauty. Glamour is show-stopping, loud, perfect. It's the stuff that knocks us off our feet. The people and places we might find on the covers of magazines. But true beauty? Well, that's more quiet and unassuming, more nuanced and deep and real. It's what lies beyond the obvious, and when we're around it, what makes us feel more alive. By this measure, then, Nepal must surely be the world's most beautiful country. Aesthetically, one could argue that Nepal is show-stoppingly gorgeous. Home to Mount Everest and 7 of the world's 14 highest peaks, it offers some of our planet's most spectacular landscapes. Add to that the raw desertscapes of the Mustang region with its ancient Tibetan Buddhist monasteries and mysterious sky caves, the lush of jungles of Chitwan or Bardia national parks, home to Bengal tigers and rhinos, and the intricate hand-carved palaces, temples, and shrines of Kathmandu's Royal Durbar squares. And you could have something edging close to glamour, but isn't. Maybe it's the deep spirituality which infuses Nepal that keeps it firmly in the realm of true beauty. Prayer, after all, is a constant here, as evidenced by the infinite number of fluttering prayer flags and spinning prayer wheels. On a trek in the Everest region last year, I spent a day hiking through forests and valleys, past small villages and organic farms and Buddhist stupas, stopping finally at Phupton Koling Monastery. My gentle Sherpa guide and I spent the evening there, watching hundreds of monks and nuns chant and pray and immerse themselves in ritual. It was like slipping through a portal into another world, one where kindness and compassion reigned. It was one of the most unforgettable days of my traveling life. Which brings me to the Nepalese people, who are the real source of this small country's beauty. Nepal's history is rife with hardship, civil war, natural disasters, fuel shortages, border clashes, and poverty. Yet, no matter where I've gone on my 3 trips to the country so far, the locals seem unfailingly optimistic, always ready with a smile and laugh, always wanting to help and to give. This is a landscape bred in our bones. In the country's barren north, where Lake Turkana flows sea green into the Great Rift Valley, the fossils of some of our earliest ancestors lie concealed beneath a crust of earth. Perhaps this is why Kenya taps into our souls, communicating in a language we can all understand. Shouts of caribou, welcome, ring out everywhere I go. But it's the salutation, welcome home, that strikes the deepest chord. I'm returning, after all, to the cradle of humankind. When those hominids first stood upright thereabouts, a vast world awaited discovery. But our ancestors needn't have ventured far, since old untold beauty was already close at hand. South of Lake Turkana, The Great Rift Valley cuts a trench lush with grasslands, forests, swamps, and volcanoes. Escarpments are chalked onto the skyline, and mountain peaks arise like ancient skyscrapers. To the west, the land spills away to the shores of Lake Victoria, the world's largest tropical lake. This basin sizzles with color. The flush of flamingos tiptoeing across shallow lakes, the flare of the Maasai shook us as they herd livestock in a time-worn ritual. Africa's wildlife coexists with its people. Big cats and their doe-eyed prey, scavengers loitering on the peripheries and disposing of the entrails, birds blackening the skies in their supple murmurations. One of nature's great spectacles occurs here when the wildebeest depart en masse on their annual migration. Many will die along the way. There is pain in beauty, after all. The census must adjust as you travel north and east into fossil-plugged deserts and semi-arid regions in which life somehow prevails. This indestructible terrain is painted brown, white and sage green and oxblood. It tapers off towards a coastline, luminous with tropical foliage and beaches and bays. But for beauty to have meaning, it must be both flawed and soul-stirring. Those exclamations of caribou are faithful. I travel with these around this warm-hearted country. Consider the kuromoji. It's a toothpick, essentially, a small shaft of wood that you will find lying across the plate holding your wasabi, an exquisite Japanese sweet traditionally paired with maca tea. The kuromoji needn't be anything special. It's just a utensil, something to lever the confectionery from your plate to your mouth. And yet this is Japan, so of course it has been deeply considered. Kuromoji are thin and flat, cut from the aromatic wood of a black willow, with a look as if they've been whittled by hand, the tree bark still in place, the shaft tapered to a smooth point. Its presence and its prettiness tell you much about Japan. It embodies the love of nature here, of things that are natural and real, just like the tatami mat floors you're sitting on, and the ceramics fired from clay from which you eat and drink. It shows the love of small details, and it shows, most importantly, the love of beauty. It's everywhere you look in Japan. Yes, the scenery in this country is gorgeous. Those mountains covered in cedar and pine, endless alpine vistas captured so merrily by Japanese artists for millennia. But there's so much beauty that is man-made too, that has been created with thought and skill and appreciation for visual perfection. Consider Japanese architecture, traditional homes with curved roofs and wooden walls, interiors with shoji and fusama, movable screens and doors with wooden frames and translucent paper, tatami sit mats on the floor, and gawa or wooden verandas to capture views of natural settings all around. There's beauty in all things you touch and see in this country. Japanese paper is beautiful. Japanese flower arrangements are beautiful. Japanese ceramics are beautiful. Japanese fashion is beautiful. Even the labels on safe bottles are beautiful. Even the artworks on manhole covers are beautiful. We haven't talked about food, possibly the source of the most beauty of all in this country, where every morsel is prepared with care and presented in a way that will be most appealing. From carefully wrapped onigiri at a convenience store to the most etchingly perfect slice of fish draped over ice at a three-star sushi joint, food here is of the utmost beauty. Of course, it's served on tableware that is beautiful, and sometimes it comes with a kuromoji. Switzerland is the prequel to heaven. Its mountains could easily be the snowy home of the gods, and you wouldn't be surprised on Mount Rigi if you found a flight of angels tucking into schnitzels on Chalet Terrace. Train travel here can be like a near-death experience. You pop out of dark tunnels and are rewarded with glacial light, swan paddle lakes, and meadows sprinkled with wildflowers. At times, Switzerland is too beautiful to seem true, a fantasy photoshopped by calendar and jigsaw puzzle makers. But no, it really does pack a walloping scenic punch, and as if lakes and mountains and green fields aren't enough, the Swiss have set about adding optional extras: time-worn chalets, fresco buildings, terraced vineyards, promenades popping with petunias, flower boxing cascading geraniums. Some countries suit particular people, but Switzerland's beauty is universally appreciated. Bollywood loves its scenic kitsch, which frequently forms a cinematic background to improbable dance routines. South Koreans became obsessed with previously little known Lake Lungan, which featured in Netflix series Crash Landing into You. Atop famous viewpoints Chinese, Americans, and Saudis in Chador's Gork. Loveliness is so ubiquitous in this small country that much of it gets ignored. French-speaking Switzerland is beyond the Alps and, except for Lake Geneva, unvisited by tourists, but it's plump and pretty. This is a toy train set country, painted blue lakes, dapple orchids, rolling cornfields, castles popping out of lush fields chewed by contented black and white cows. Take the train from Zurich to Geneva via New Channel, and you can admire it all, from the primroses among the embankments to the Alps that hover on the horizon. Dozens of gorgeous villages go uncelebrated. Born on Lake Lucerne, Morcote with its pastel villas and lemon trees, Erlenbach with its ornamental farmhouses and views to 200 peaks.